In the depths of the uncharted third galaxy, humanity had ventured far beyond the reaches of known space. Their exploratory ships moved like silent shadows through the void, making their way to a system thought to be devoid of anything of value, a forgotten relic of ancient times. The stars here burned faintly against the vastness of the cosmic ocean, as if to hide the secrets they had long concealed beneath layers of dust and time. Yet this was the place where everything was about to change. On the surface of a long-abandoned planet hidden deep within this system, a team of human explorers uncovered the first sign of something extraordinary. Buried beneath the barren soil far from any known civilization, a cavern stretched beneath the crust of the world, lined with walls of material unlike anything seen before. It shimmered in the dim light of their torches, its surface smooth and strange, almost alive, as if it held memories of long-lost stories of those who had once lived here. At the heart of the cavern, the discovery of a massive object stunned the team. An artifact so large and intricate it seemed to pulse with an energy that was not of this world. Ancient inscriptions covered its surface. Though no human could read them, the symbols burned into the stone appeared to change when observed for too long, flashing with faint glimpses of forgotten knowledge. The crew stood in awe as their sensors picked up traces of technology far beyond their own capabilities, an artifact from a civilization that had long since vanished, but had left behind something far more dangerous than they could ever have imagined. The expedition leaders were quick to report their findings back to Earth, and within days a specialized team of scientists, engineers, and historians was assembled to investigate the artifact, their eyes wide with excitement as they analyzed the data from the initial scans. The object was emitting an energy signature far beyond anything in the galaxy, and soon they realized its true significance. Hidden within the layers of this mysterious structure was a blueprint of sorts, a series of detailed designs that suggested the creation of a weapon unlike anything ever conceived by the galaxy's more advanced species. These designs detailed the construction of a warship, one that could dwarf any known ship in size and power, capable of taking on entire fleets with ease. But more than that, it was something that could change the very balance of power in the galaxy. The artifact was more than just a weapon. It was a key to unlocking humanity's potential in ways no one had ever imagined. As the scientific team worked tirelessly to decode the information hidden within the artifact, a new truth began to emerge. Humans were not the primitive species the galaxy had long assumed them to be. They had always underestimated humanity's ability to innovate, adapt, and overcome the challenges of the stars. The ancient races of the galaxy had laughed at humans, calling them primitive and weak, but they had never anticipated the consequences of this discovery. They had never understood the drive that pushed humanity to reach beyond the stars. And now that same drive would forge the path forward into an uncertain and turbulent future. As the human team unlocked more secrets of the artifact, they realized this discovery was the spark that could ignite a revolution, one that would see humanity rise from the depths of their assumed inferiority to challenge the mighty powers that ruled the galaxies. This was the beginning of a new era for humanity, and for the galaxy as a whole, a beginning that would forever alter the course of history. The humans worked relentlessly, pouring their intellect and creativity into the alien artifact, determined to uncover all its secrets. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the scientific teams on Earth, now operating with full government backing, delved deeper into the encrypted blueprints they had discovered. Each step forward was a revelation, each deciphered code a clue to understanding not just the weapon it described, but the very nature of the beings who had created it. At first, the findings were small. Fragments of designs for unknown propulsion systems, strange alloys never seen before by human eyes, and incomprehensible energy signatures that pulsed through their equipment. But soon, the pieces began to fit together. The blueprints showed not just the design of a ship, but a vast, self-sustaining dreadnought of unimaginable scale, one capable of carrying out a strategic shift in any war. These ships were not meant to be fast or maneuverable, but rather unstoppable, moving with an imposing presence that would make entire fleets hesitate before approaching. Each dreadnought would have enough firepower to overwhelm even the greatest warships of the galactic empires, and more astonishingly, They were designed to operate autonomously, guided by artificial intelligence that learned and adapted during combat. It became evident that this technology was no mere relic of a forgotten civilization. It was a blueprint for dominance, and it had been left behind for a reason. The alien species that had created the artifact, and by extension the weapon, had been a powerful force long before the first human ships had set sail into the stars. And now, it seemed, humanity had been chosen, or perhaps fated, to inherit this technology and reshape the balance of power across the galaxy. The implications of the discovery hit harder than any of them had expected. The alien civilizations that surrounded the three galaxies, the ones who had consistently laughed off humanity's ambitions, would never anticipate the storm that was now brewing. Earth's top military minds, with the best engineers and physicists working in tandem, immediately began laying plans to build the first Dreadnought. Every resource was mobilized, and Earth's industrial machines roared to life. This was no longer about scientific curiosity. It was a matter of survival and dominance. Construction began on a scale never before seen by humankind. Massive shipyards were set up, and the Dreadnought took form in the cold vacuum of space. A single ship, one that would serve as a prototype, the first of many to come. Its design was sleek but monstrous, its structure formed from materials stronger than anything the galaxy had ever known, some of which had been discovered through the artifact itself. Every inch of its design was optimized for war, and its weapon systems were so advanced that even the alien engineers studying the blueprints on Earth marveled at their ingenuity. Across the galaxy, the news spread. The discovery of this technology sent ripples through the established power structures of the major galactic empires. The so-called primitive humans were building something far beyond their reach, something that threatened to shift the galactic balance, while the major powers still underestimated them. Dismissing the humans as little more than an ambitious species, they could not ignore the growing tension. Something was happening, and it could not be stopped. The old powers were oblivious to the storm that had already begun to form. The Dreadnoughts were coming, and humanity's place among the stars would never be the same again. With the prototype nearing completion, it was clear. Humanity had learned not only how to survive in the stars, but how to conquer them. The galaxy was about to witness the rise of a new power, one that no one had seen coming. As the first Dreadnought neared completion, the entire human race watched with bated breath. The ship, christened Titan, was humanity's crowning achievement, a symbol of their rise from the ashes of ridicule and dismissal. Built to the exact specifications uncovered from the alien artifact, it was unlike anything seen before. Its massive hull gleamed in the darkness of space, a formidable fortress capable of reshaping the very nature of galactic warfare. On Earth, the military command center buzzed with anticipation. The Titan's first test flight was to be a demonstration of humanity's newfound power. But even as the final checks were made, and the crew prepared for launch, many within the political and military leadership still had their doubts. It was one thing to build the ship, but it was another to prove that this untested technology could live up to its promise. The doubts had to be overcome, for the galaxy was watching. Across the three galaxies, the news of the Dreadnought's imminent launch rippled through the established powers. The oldest and most powerful empires, while still dismissing humanity's technological progress, began to take a closer look. The artifact and its technology were far more than a curiosity now. Whispers spread among the alien elites. Some saw the Dreadnoughts as an aberration, a temporary burst of ingenuity that would burn itself out. Others felt a rising unease, sensing the shifting tides of power. For too long, humanity had been dismissed, but this could not be ignored. The first Dreadnought was about to launch, and no one knew what its impact would be. The Titan slowly rose from the surface of Earth, its engines roaring to life for the first time. The crew, carefully selected for their bravery and expertise, braced themselves as the immense ship ascended into orbit. Inside, the ship's artificial intelligence hummed, running through its initial systems checks and synchronizing with the vast array of weaponry that lined its hull. The Dreadnought was not merely a ship. It was an extension of humanity's will, a living, breathing entity that had been carefully crafted to wage war on a scale previously unimaginable. Its weapons were capable of devastating entire fleets, and its hull was nearly impenetrable to the weapons of its enemies. As the Titan broke through the atmosphere and into the void of space, the first test would begin. The orders were simple. Make a statement. A mock battle was arranged in the outskirts of a neutral system, one far from the prying eyes of the galactic powers. A fleet of alien warships, unaware of what was about to unfold, was waiting for the Titan to arrive. They were the perfect targets to showcase the Dreadnought's power, but they had no idea that their fates were sealed the moment they entered the system. The Titan engaged the enemy with devastating precision. Its weapons tore through the alien ships, slicing them apart with ease. In just a few minutes, the vast fleet was reduced to debris floating helplessly in the vacuum of space. The human crew aboard the Dreadnought, though their nerves were steeled for the moment, could hardly believe what they had witnessed. They had anticipated success, but not the sheer scale of it. The alien ships never stood a chance. The Dreadnought's power was not just in its size, but in its design, its intelligence, and the ingenuity with which humanity had harnessed the knowledge of a long-dead civilization. As the smoke cleared and the debris settled, the message was clear. Humanity was no longer a primitive species. The Titan had sent a shockwave across the galaxy, one that no empire could ignore. The news spread like wildfire, reaching the ears of every major power in the 3 galaxies. It was not just a victory for humanity. It was a challenge to the old order, an assertion that the so-called primitive species had just reshaped the balance of power in the universe. The rising tide of human power had begun, and with it, the galaxy would never be the same again. The aftermath of the Titan's debut spread across the galaxy like wildfire, sparking fear, curiosity, and uncertainty among the dominant powers. The galaxy's ancient empires, which had spent millennia expanding their influence and subjugating lesser races, suddenly found themselves confronted with a new and unprecedented force. The sight of humanity's Dreadnought cutting through an enemy fleet with surgical precision was a wake-up call. The so-called primitive humans had revealed a power that no one had anticipated, a force that could rival even the mightiest of the galaxy's most seasoned warriors. But the Titan was just the beginning. The shockwave of its destructive power had rippled through the galactic community, and the old empires were now scrambling to understand what had happened. Their intelligence networks, long used to tracking and predicting the movements of lesser species, were suddenly overwhelmed. The humans, it seemed, had come out of nowhere with technology that far surpassed anything the older races had ever encountered. What the galaxy didn't yet understand, however, was that the Titan was not just a one-off success. It was part of a much larger plan. Humanity had already begun construction on several more dreadnoughts, each one more powerful than the last. The military-industrial complex on Earth, which had been quietly mobilizing for months, now shifted into high gear. Every shipyard, every factory, every research facility was devoted to the creation of these massive warships. The dreadnoughts were not just symbols of humanity's newfound power. They were tools designed to shape the future of the galaxy itself. And humanity wasn't doing this alone. As the Titan's victory reached every corner of the galaxy, formerly neutral races, those who had once hesitated to pick a side in the growing conflict, began to shift their allegiance. Some saw the rise of humanity as an opportunity to break free from the oppressive control of the galactic empires. Others, frightened by the ancient powers that dominated the stars, viewed the humans as a necessary counterbalance, a force capable of shaking the foundations of the established order. Secret meetings were held between human diplomats and representatives from these alien races, forging alliances that had once seemed impossible. These newly formed coalitions worked together to share technology, resources, and intelligence, all with a singular goal in mind: to ensure humanity's rise would be unstoppable. The Dreadnought fleet was growing, and with each passing day, its numbers swelled. Each new ship, each new alliance, brought humanity closer to the realization of their ultimate plan, a bold, unprecedented push to challenge the galactic empires directly. In response, the ancient powers of the galaxy, though initially dismissive, began to take action. The most powerful fleets of the elder civilizations were mobilized, their massive armadas moving with purpose toward the outer reaches of human space. The first skirmishes between human forces and the old empires began to erupt. But humanity, now united in purpose, was unlike any foe these civilizations had faced before. They fought not only with superior technology, but with an unmatched resolve, driven by the knowledge that this was their moment, their chance to secure their place in the galaxy. The Dreadnoughts, once thought to be a novelty, now proved their worth in the heat of battle. Each engagement was a testament to the devastating efficiency of humanity's new weapons of war. The older races, with their centuries of experience, found themselves on the defensive. They had been caught off guard, and now they were playing catch-up, trying to adapt to a new kind of warfare, one in which the humans were not simply fighting for survival, but fighting to reshape the very fabric of the galaxy. As the battles raged on, the true nature of humanity's power began to reveal itself. It was not just in the technology of their ships, nor in the alliances they had forged. The true power of humanity lay in their unwavering spirit, their ability to unite in the face of overwhelming odds, and their refusal to back down. The galaxy was changing, and no one, not even the oldest and most powerful civilizations, could stop it. As the battles escalated, the three galaxies trembled under the weight of the growing conflict. Humanity's dreadnoughts, once seen as a mere novelty, now proved themselves as the harbingers of a new era. The older, established powers were no longer just concerned with maintaining control. They were struggling to adapt to a force that seemed to be everywhere, challenging everything they had taken for granted. No one could have anticipated how quickly humanity's rise would disrupt the balance of power across the stars. The first significant shift came when the largest of the human coalitions, consisting of planets that had once been under the thumb of the galactic empires, declared their independence. With the dreadnoughts at the forefront, these newly formed alliances of free worlds rose up against their former oppressors. Some of the galaxy's most powerful factions now found themselves fighting on multiple fronts, their resources stretched thin, their strategies shattered by the relentless pressure of humanity's forces. The human fleet, though far from reaching its full potential, had already claimed several key systems from the older empires, each victory strengthening their resolve and proving to the galaxy that their new technological might was not a fluke, but a carefully honed weapon. As the dreadnoughts moved across space, humanity's influence began to spread rapidly. Formerly neutral species, once hesitant to choose sides, now openly pledged their allegiance to the humans, swayed by the overwhelming power and vision that humanity presented. The galaxy had watched them for centuries, dismissing their potential, but now, with each victory, that potential seemed limitless. The established empires, in their desperation, called an emergency summit, a council of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They had watched the situation deteriorate for too long and realized that they could no longer ignore humanity's growing influence. The message they had received was clear. The human dreadnoughts were not just a temporary threat. They were a new force, one that could reshape the future of the galaxy. They could not allow the humans to continue unchecked. Yet even as they gathered their fleets, even as they prepared to launch an all-out offensive, they were already too late. A new wave of dreadnoughts had launched from Earth, each one more advanced than the last, each one accompanied by newly forged alliances that only strengthened humanity's cause. And this time, the human fleet wasn't waiting for the galactic powers to make their move. They had learned quickly from the mistakes of their enemies, and they had already struck first. In a surprise attack, humanity's fleet overwhelmed the advance forces of the galactic empires, leaving them reeling. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy's oldest civilizations were on the defensive. Their fleets, though vast, could not match the precision and coordination of the human dreadnoughts. The once vaunted technological superiority of the ancient races seemed insignificant in the face of humanity's overwhelming determination. The war was no longer just about territory or resources. It had become a struggle for survival. The galaxy's old powers were now fighting to maintain their relevance, their power, their very existence in a universe that was rapidly changing. The new power in the galaxy wasn't just humanity's fleet, but their unbreakable spirit, their ability to unite in the face of overwhelming odds and strike back harder than anyone had ever imagined. Every battle became a symbol, not just of military might, but of a rising people who refused to be held back. The galaxy was in motion, shifting from the established order to something new, something unpredictable. And as humanity's dreadnoughts pressed on, their enemies realized too late that they had underestimated the one thing that would define the future of the universe: the will of humanity. The once great galactic empires were now caught in a whirlwind of fear and confusion. Humanity's rise was not just an unexpected event. It was a tidal wave that swept away everything in its path. The dreadnoughts, once considered a joke or a mere curiosity, had become the beating heart of a growing rebellion that threatened to undo millennia of established power structures. What was supposed to be a brief skirmish had turned into a full-scale revolution. The galaxy had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to innovate, and to unite. And now, every empire in the known universe was paying the price. The older civilizations scrambled to regroup. Their vast fleets, built over centuries of dominance, were no match for the strategic brilliance and technological superiority of the human dreadnoughts. Even with their advanced fleets and resources, they were outmaneuvered at every turn. The humans fought with a resolve born of years of struggle, of being cast aside by those who saw them as weak, as primitives. The pain of centuries of dismissal now fueled every ship, every battle, every campaign. Humanity's influence was spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. The previously neutral worlds, watching with awe as the dreadnoughts' decimated enemy fleets began to take sides. Entire star systems pledged their support to humanity, offering resources, ships, and soldiers to the growing alliance. Formerly oppressed species saw in the humans not just a military powerhouse, but a beacon of hope, a chance to break free from the chains of the galactic empires. It was no longer just a war for survival. It was a war for freedom, for the right to carve out a future on their own terms. And as humanity's influence spread, the old empires began to fracture. Their once unified front was crumbling under the pressure. Political factions within the major galactic powers saw an opportunity in humanity's rise, some hoping to use the chaos to wrest control away from the establishment. Alliances shifted, and new coalitions were born. Some empires made overtures of peace, offering negotiations to end the war, while others continued to escalate the conflict, hoping to crush humanity once and for all before the dreadnoughts could grow too powerful. But the human fleet wasn't interested in negotiations anymore. They had crossed the line from defending their homes to reshaping the very fabric of the galaxy. Each dreadnought that launched was a statement, a declaration that humanity would no longer be subjugated, no longer be ignored. The war had become a fight for the future, and humanity's future would not be determined by ancient empires that had ruled the stars for far too long. The most significant turning point came when a coordinated strike by humanity's combined fleets took out a major galactic capital, a center of power that had been considered untouchable. The shockwaves reverberated across the galaxy, and for the first time, the old empires realized that they were no longer in control. The capital, with its advanced defenses, had fallen to the might of the human fleet, and the enemy's leadership was forced to flee in disgrace. But victory came with its own set of challenges. As the rebellion spread, it was no longer just about military tactics or superior weaponry. Humanity had to balance the weight of their newfound power with the responsibility of uniting the galaxy's diverse species under a common cause. The factions that joined the rebellion had their own agendas, their own ambitions, and it was becoming clear that the war for freedom might soon turn into a struggle for dominance within the human-led coalition itself. The Galactic Rebellion was now a fact. The Dreadnoughts had proven their might, and humanity had proven their strength of will. But the war was far from over. New challenges awaited, and the outcome would no longer be decided by the might of the old empires alone. The galaxy was on the brink of a new era, one where humanity would play a leading role. But how that role would unfold was uncertain, as the future of the rebellion hung in the balance. The galaxy stood at a crossroads. Humanity's rebellion had grown from a handful of dreadnoughts into a full-scale force that could no longer be ignored. The major galactic empires, once thought invincible, were now fragmented and reeling from humanity's rapid rise. But as the rebellion's power expanded, so too did the challenges it faced. Humanity's success had forged new alliances, but it had also ignited new tensions. The same drive that had propelled them to victory now threatened to fracture their newfound unity. The diverse coalition that supported humanity was strong, but its strength was also its weakness. The various species that had joined the cause had different cultures, values, and agendas. Some had joined for the promise of freedom, others for vengeance, and some for a chance to seize power in the chaos. The human leadership, once united by their common purpose, now found themselves facing growing dissent within their ranks. Some of the alien factions, particularly those that had been long oppressed by the galactic empires, began to push for their own vision of the future, demanding influence over the direction of the rebellion. What had once been a united front in the fight for survival was now at risk of splintering into competing factions, each vying for control. Humanity had grown stronger, but it had also grown more divided. The strain began to show as the rebellion's forces continued to clash with the remaining strongholds of the old empires. While the dreadnoughts proved their effectiveness in battle, they could no longer be everywhere at once. The massive fleets of the ancient powers, though crippled and scattered, still had resources at their disposal. And as humanity's forces advanced into the heart of the galactic territories, the full wrath of the older empires was unleashed. The war entered a new phase, a brutal and relentless conflict that would push every combatant to their limits. The once unified alliance of free worlds was now forced to contend with internal strife, even as they faced the onslaught of the surviving galactic powers. Diplomacy seemed futile, and the only option left was force. The question was no longer whether humanity could win. It was how much they were willing to sacrifice to reshape the galaxy in their image. In the midst of this growing chaos, a new leader emerged from within humanity's ranks. Admiral Carasolis, a brilliant tactician and former commander of the Titan, became the figurehead of the rebellion's military strategy. Her rise was meteoric, and her vision was clear. Humanity's place in the galaxy could no longer be defined by the victories of the past. It would be determined by the choices they made in the present. Solis preached unity within the rebellion, emphasizing that the time for infighting was over. The only path forward was a complete, decisive strike against the remaining galactic powers. The dreadnoughts, though powerful, needed the full strength of the rebellion to achieve victory, a victory that would end the war once and for all. Under Solis's leadership, humanity's forces prepared for a final assault on the heart of the galactic empires, the central hub of their political and military command. The plan was simple: strike fast, strike hard, and leave no room for retaliation. With the combined might of the Dreadnought fleet and their allies, the rebellion would converge on the Empire's last bastion of power, forcing them to submit or face utter annihilation. But even as the fleet assembled for this decisive moment, the weight of what was to come hung heavy. The rebels knew that this would not just be a battle for control, it would be a battle for the soul of the galaxy itself. Humanity's emergence as a galactic power had already shaken the foundations of the old order, but the price of success was steep. The galaxy was on the brink of total transformation, and whatever came next would be defined by the choices made in the heat of battle. The final confrontation was inevitable, and as the fleet surged toward the enemy's heart, humanity stood poised at the precipice of a new age, one where the old empires would either fall or adapt, but where humanity would no longer be a mere footnote in galactic history. The final battle was upon them. The entire galaxy watched as the human-led rebellion, bolstered by their powerful Dreadnought fleet, gathered its forces for the largest offensive the stars had ever seen. The remnants of the galactic empires, once so confident in their superiority, now stood united in desperation, their fleets arrayed to protect the heart of their power. The time for diplomacy had passed. There would be no more negotiations, no more second chances. This was the culmination of humanity's rise, a moment that would determine not just the outcome of the war, but the future of the galaxy itself. Admiral Carasolis stood at the command center of the Titan, watching as the massive fleet assembled in the darkness of space. Her thoughts were sharp, her resolve unwavering. The years of struggle, the sacrifices, the endless battles, all had led to this moment. Victory was no longer a matter of simply overthrowing the old empires. It was about creating something better, something sustainable. The rebellion's success had already transformed the political landscape, but the true test would come after the battle was won. Humanity would have to rise above the chaos and forge a new order from the ashes of the old. The first shots were fired as the human fleet made its move. The Dreadnoughts, with their unrelenting firepower and advanced eye-guided precision, tore through the enemy lines. The ancient empires, though formidable in their numbers, were no match for the deadly efficiency of humanity's forces. What had once seemed impossible, the fall of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations, was now unfolding before the eyes of the universe. Alien ships exploded in a flash of light as the Dreadnoughts cut through them like a blade through paper. The tides of war were shifting with every passing second. Yet, even as the battle raged, Solace knew that the true challenge lay not in defeating the remnants of the old empires, but in uniting the galaxy afterward. The various factions that had joined humanity's cause were already beginning to show signs of discord. Some species, having tasted victory, were eager to carve out their own dominions. Others, though loyal to the human cause, were wary of the future. The rebellion had been fueled by a shared goal, but the aftermath of victory would be far more complex. As the human fleet advanced toward the Empire's last stronghold, a massive fortress station known as the Eclipse Citadel, the final resistance was crushed. The leaders of the old empires, realizing that their defeat was inevitable, attempted to negotiate for their survival. But Solace and her allies were resolute. There would be no more deals, no more compromises. The galaxy would be rebuilt, and it would be built on the foundations of justice, equality, and strength. The days of tyranny and oppression were over. With the Eclipse Citadel falling, the last of the galactic powers crumbled. The rebellion had succeeded. Humanity, once dismissed as primitive, had transformed the galaxy. But as the dust settled, and the survivors of the old order were taken into custody, the real work began. The galaxy was vast, and its people were diverse. Uniting them would take more than military might. It would take vision, leadership, and a commitment to something greater than mere conquest. Humanity had shown that it could rise from the ashes, that it could fight for survival and overcome the greatest odds. But now, as the smoke of war cleared, the true test began. To lead, to govern, and to build a future that would not only honor the sacrifices of those who fought for freedom, but also ensure that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. The galaxy would not remain in chaos forever. The new human-led council, forged from the ashes of the rebellion, began its work. Species from all corners of the 3 galaxies were invited to take part in the new order, each with a voice in shaping the future. Though it would take time, the promise of peace and prosperity was now a tangible goal. Humanity had risen. The Dreadnoughts had proven their power. But the true legacy of this war would be the new empire that emerged. An empire built not on domination, but on the principle that no species, no people would ever be considered primitive again.